I'm Tanya Rivera. Welcome back to CBSN. Florida is the latest state to ban transgender women from competing in women's sports at public high schools and colleges.
This evening, an end to certain transgender treatments for minors. Florida health leaders voted to make that official.
Families have talked to me about how they will navigate seeking medical care for their kiddos.
He and opponents argue Florida's rule will harm trans youth.
The message then is for the world that, Florida does not acknowledge and affirm our transgender youth.
Every major medical association, from the American Psychological Association to the American Academy of Pediatrics, denounced these bills as having no sound basis in fact or science.
This subject matter to me is very emotional, very personal, not philosophical, not theoretical. Not one of you can speak to this like I can speak to this as a parent of a trans daughter who came out at 17. And I wish, I tell you, I wish I knew sooner. And I'm...
Note: the inclusion of this Amy Mercado woman, the representative, decenters trans voices by focusing too heavily on an ally. Consider changing.
They talk about these very young kids getting gender-affirming care. What they don't tell you what that is they're actually giving very young girls double mastectomies. They want to castrate these young boys. That's wrong. 10, 12, 13-year-old kids based on gender dysphoria. 80% of it resolves anyways by the time they get older. I think these doctors need to get sued for what's happening. I'm sorry.
Note: the references to nuclear panic overshadow the trans messaging. Consider omitting.
There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He'd duck and cover, duck and cover.
He did what we all must learn to do. You
and you
and you
and you, duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover. This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association. Produced by Archer Productions, Incorporated. Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people, please. Oh, all right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life.
Note: duck and cover has been overplayed and holds little shock value, diminishes the value of the piece as a whole. Consider revising to remove duck and cover. Additional note: the pink sky feels too saccharine, loses its punch after the first shot.
That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous.
4-year-olds don't make decisions like that. They can't. And yet across the country, many small children are being given puberty blockers and irreversibly damaging their bodies. Of course, some of them later regret it. It's grotesque. This isn't just one parent abusing a child on TV. This is a nationwide, we're going to use the word epidemic, and everyone is too embarrassed to mention it.
Girl. Okay, you can tell them that. Okay. Phoenix would like you to know that she's a girl and she prefers she and her pronouns.
Phoenix would like you to know that she's a girl. Now, if you're a parent, if you actually have raised children, you know what you're seeing is ventriloquism.
You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you are not ready, did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard, or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings, knock signboards over, and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover, like Bert, you'll be much safer.
This is HBO putting this documentary out to promote gender confusion. They want your child to be confused about his gender and to think that gender is fluid and he can be whatever he wants.
This is an attack on nature, the most fundamental building blocks of any society, which is your sex. Why doesn't anyone say anything about this? Just ask the obvious question, like, what is this?
Let's take a look at a typical atomic explosion. First of all, what's our first inkling that an atomic bomb has gone off? That's a tremendous flash of bluish white light, many times brighter than the sun, and a lot closer to you. As soon as that glare fades, you'll see a ball of fire at the point where the explosion occurred. This fireball turns from white to orange, then to a bright red.
Note: I wish I was watching the documentary about Desert Rock 6 instead of this short.
You are here to participate in an atomic maneuver. Atomic weapons are truly powerful, but they don't mean the end of all life as so many people think. You can live through an atomic attack, and by taking common sense precautions, live to fight another day. This is not a haphazard maneuver.
Night falls swiftly at Desert Rock, the tension and the excitement mounting. For some of the participating troops, nearby Las Vegas offers an evening's entertainment, a distinct but equally stimulating change from the preparations for the atomic blast. The weekly free show sponsored by the Las Vegas Variety Club comes off on schedule.
After she came out, I went back and tried to understand, what did I miss as a parent? What was it? Where was it? How long? The amount of bullying that she had to deal with in school, and I never knew. Her sister knew. Her sister protected her. But I moved her from school to school thinking that it was something bigger or something different. It was a bullying issue. But it was because she didn't know how to articulate.
Note: the lies about the dangers of nuclear weaponry stemmed from government propaganda, but the lies about transgender healthcare stem from primarily alt-right independent journalists. This seems like a false equivalence and sullies your argument. Consider revising.
The number of LGBTQ teens who have considered suicide is rising, already more than 3 times the national average. The Trevor Project, a suicide prevention organization for queer youth, found the numbers are particularly high for transgender teens.
A national survey from the Trevor Project found nearly half of trans girls considered suicide in the last year. For trans boys, it's nearly 60%.
The generalized point the left tries to make is that if you say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, a bunch of people who believe they are members of the opposite sex will be so despondent about the fact that biological reality exists and that you are saying it. Not even that it exists, that you're saying it. That they're going to go commit suicide. There's only one problem with this line of argument. It's complete nonsense. There's no statistical evidence to suggest that the wildly disparate suicidal ideation rate among LGBT people suddenly corrects itself to meet the cis norm if you live in an area that is highly tolerant of LGBT.
Note: you appear to have written the words "lies that kill children" on napkins from leftover takeout. This is lazy and amateurish. Consider killing yourself.
H hour minus 2 minutes. Minus 2 minutes. All personnel kneel down in the trenches. Lean against the forward wall.
Note: you are never going to finish the intended special effect where 2 explosions would appear superimposed into the lead actress's eyes. Consider giving up on filmmaking entirely, then killing yourself.
Minutes after the blast, the troops are moving forward toward Ground Zero to see for themselves the effects of nuclear devices. This first-hand experience is one which will be embedded in the memory of every man.
Note: the film gets too explicit in its messaging around the 11-minute mark. Consider being less of a fucking hack than killing yourself.
Ground Zero has been reached, explored, and left behind. As an added safety measure, every man is thoroughly brushed and checked with a Geiger counter before he is allowed to return to his campsite.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
Duck and cover. 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 Duck
Note: I have tried to kill myself several times during the post-production process of this film essay. Consider revising. Note: I was 15 when I first read Leila Alcorn's suicide note. I am currently 23, and nothing has changed. Consider revising. Note: Florida is hell on earth for trans people. Consider revising.
I would have started her on blockers way sooner because the things that she has to deal with right now are so complicated. I wish I knew sooner because what she tells me is, Mom, thank you. Thank you for being an advocate for me. Thank you for being a voice for me. Thank you for taking me to the doctor's office. Thank you for always being there. I don't understand how parents cannot be with their children, how many of these kids are going through this on their own and they couldn't come out to their parents for one reason or another, and now these bills are going to make it just as complicated, if not worse, because the parents are going to be potentially child abusers. So I ask you, as this moves forward, that you really look at it from the actual science, not the incendiary language, not the people that come to talk to you to, random science. These are real people. One of the things that I felt when my daughter came out was grief. Grief because I felt like a failed parent. I felt like I allowed her to not be her authentic self, to not live the life that she should live. And in the 5 years that she's been out, she is the happiest, the more outgoing, as considering she's an introvert, that she's ever been.
I hate you.
Something encouraging.
Oh. You can do it. But I still hate you.